Aloha, dear listeners. Welcome to Beauties and Beasts, the podcast of all things Beauty and the Beast. Most of the Beauty and the Beast stories we cover on this podcast are romantic, but occasionally we'll have a purely platonic relationship between a human and a non-human character, but still holds Beauty and the Beast elements, like the theme of looking past physical differences. And as the second episode in Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, today's story takes place in Hawaii. The story of a very lonely little Hawaiian girl who befriends a destructive alien creation. That's right, I'm talking about Disney's 2002 animated film, Lilo and Stitch. Before I get into this, I'd like to thank my $5 plus patrons, Arvin Joshua Rocks 15, Bella PinkSavage, Cosmic Trail, Poppy X Branch 2000, and TyrannosaurusVenom. And a special shout out to Bella PinkSavage, who recently graduated. Yeah, let's give a hand, everybody. Yeah, congrats, Bella. You've been so supportive of my work, and it was my chance to be supportive to you. You too can become a patron today. Just go to the link patron.podbean.com/beautiesandbeasts. Or buy my merchandise off of Redbubble. I have new Stop Asian Hate design and a new asexual design for Pride Month in June. Show your support for the Asian and LGBTQ community with clothes, mugs, masks, notebooks, stickers, and more. Oh, and Cosmic Trail says that their graduation is coming up soon too. All right, congratulations on that. Everybody's graduating. Yeah, especially congrats on graduating in such a difficult year. I'm sure a lot of you had to finish your school off virtually, or at least somewhat virtually. That can't have been easy. I mean, just with everything going on, and then you got to worry about school. And Bella PinkSavage confirms, oh yeah, it was a train wreck. So yeah, you should definitely pat yourself on the back, guys. Just congrats. Yeah, and that goes out to everybody who's been in school this year. You've really pulled through. Congratulations. Whether you're graduating or not, just kudos to you for getting through all this. Anyway, you can go to my Redbubble page and see the merch available. Just go to disneyfanatic23.redbubble.com. That's disneyfanatic23.redbubble.com. Now today, I'm mostly going to talk about the original Lilo and Stitch movie, though we'll briefly touch upon the 3 direct-to-video sequels and the 3 TV spin-off series. Seriously, I can't think of a single Disney movie that beats that record of spin-offs and sequels. Except maybe 101 Dalmatians with the new Cruella film coming out. Apparently, there's also been talk of a live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch, and may I just say, as someone who's a fan of the Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin remakes, no! Don't touch this movie, okay? It's perfect the way it is, and it's an original concept. Why would you do that? The fairy tales is one thing, but why just... Okay. Breathe. Anyway, Lilo and Stitch starts off long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, not that long ago, just 19 years. Wait, 19 years? Man, I'm getting old. But it is in a galaxy far, far away, on planet Turo. Alien scientist Dr. Jumba Jookiba, voiced by the late David Ogden Stiers, rest in peace, you were an amazing actor, is on trial for creating an illegal genetic experiment 626. An indestructible, yet fluffy, little creature who is programmed to destroy everything he touches. The Alien Council sentences Jumba to life imprisonment and 626 to banishment. But being designed to be super smart, 626 escapes in a police cruiser and jumps into hyperspeed and is headed for a planet called E-Arth. Because E-Arth is a wildlife preserve used to rebuild the mosquito population, as explained by Agent Pleakley, my LGBT idol before I even knew what that was, they can't destroy the planet or send an army, as that would cause a panic. So Jumba is released to capture 626, as he knows him the best, with Pleakley to supervise, make sure he doesn't go out of control. Cut to planet Earth, specifically Hawaii, where 6-year-old Lilo is late for hula class because she was bringing a weather-controlling fish named Pudge a peanut butter sandwich. A classmate, Myrtle, calls her crazy, and Lilo gets into a fistfight with her. Overactive imagination and temperament problem reminds me of another 6-year-old I once knew. Okay, I never got into a fist fight myself, but I did get in trouble for yelling at a teacher once. No wonder I like this movie. So Lilo doesn't have any friends because everyone thinks she's weird. Again, I can relate, girl. As a Disney fanatic, even through middle and high school, I was an outcast. On top of that, her older sister Nani, who's barely a legal adult and is in trouble with the social worker, Cobra Bubbles. Wow, you rarely see social services in a Disney movie. You know, aliens aside, this is probably the most realistic Disney's ever gotten. After Lilo messes up her speech to Cobra, making it sound like she's physically abused with bricks, Cobra says that he'll be checking back in 3 days. And Lilo and Nani get into a big sister fight. Look, as a big sister myself, I can confirm this is about as intense as sibling fights can get. Look, we fight, things are said, stuff is sometimes thrown, but we make up for it after we cool down. Nani's not abusive, haters. She's just a woman that gets mad like every other big sister. So, Lilo and Nani make up and apologize for both their mistakes. They see a falling star, aka 626's crashing ship. Nani overhears Lilo's wish for a friend, maybe an angel. Meanwhile, 626 gets run over by 3 trucks and ends up at the animal shelter. He tries to escape, but Jumba and Plickly are outside waiting for him. Conveniently, Nani and Lilo are there at the shelter to get a dog friend. 626 sees this as a way out and absorbs his appendages so that he can look more dog-like. Lilo is immediately taken in by his unusual appearance and ability to speak. Perfect dog for an adorable little weirdo like her. Lilo pays $2 for the dog and names him Stitch. She's more creative with names than I am. Plickly stops Jumba from shooting Stitch because he's too close to Lilo, and Lilo, being a human, is a key part of the mosquito food chain. Yeah. Stitch is using Lilo as a shield, and Plickly says that they have to blend in order to catch Stitch, because they can't be seen. So Lilo and her new dog spend a day on the island, and Stitch holds onto his instinct in destroying everything he touches. And Jumba and Plickly follow in their awful human disguises, Plickly getting in touch with his feminine side. Shenanigans lead to Nani getting fired from her waitress job at a luau restaurant. Nani insists that they have to take Stitch back, but Lilo reminds them of Dad's saying that Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. Night falls, and when Stitch is out of things to destroy, he discovers a book of the Ugly Duckling. Lilo reads it to him about how the Ugly Duckling doesn't belong anywhere and nobody wants him, and then he finds his family and he is happy. Hey, didn't I cover this story? Yes, I believe I did. It's a patron-only episode. You should go check it out. In the morning, Cobra Bubbles comes by and tells Nani that she needs to find a new job at the end of the day to be considered a fit enough guardian for Lilo. Okay, finding a job ain't that easy. I should know. It definitely takes longer than a day. I mean, they gotta do the background checks, and then there's the resume and the interview. And come on, give her a break. That's impossible. That's impossible standards. And then he sees the crazy new dog and demands that it be a model citizen. Again, impossible standards. I mean, you know how long it is to train, how long it takes to train even a regular dog? So, while Nani goes job hunting, Lilo teaches Stitch to be like Elvis, who she considers a model citizen. That just leads to more trouble, and apparently, even when Stitch is trying to fit in, he can only destroy things in his anger. They run into Nani's friend David, who has a crush on her, and he cheers him up by taking them surfing. Stitch ends up enjoying himself, besides the water being dangerous for him. Jumba and Plickly pull him into the ocean, and Stitch holds onto Lilo, making it look like he's dragging her down. David and Nani rescue them. Cobra sees Stitch go into rage mode around Lilo and says that he knows Nani is trying, but she has to think about what's best for Lilo, and that he will come in the morning for her. That evening, Stitch comes across a picture of Lilo's parents. And Lilo explains how they had gone for a drive one night and it was raining. And Lilo says that our family's little now, but if you want, you could be a part of it. But Stitch decides that he's caused enough damage, so he takes the Ugly Duckling book and goes into the forest to wait for his family. Meanwhile, the Grand Councilwoman fires Jumba and Pleakley out of impatience and sends Captain Gantu to take over the mission. Jumba finds Stitch waiting for his family and says that he doesn't have one. You are built to destroy. You can never be long. Stitch runs away, and back at the house, David says that he's found Nani a job, and Nani tells Lilo not to open the door for anyone. Then Stitch shows up with Jumba shooting the place up. The house is destroyed, Nani comes back to a flaming house, and Cobra putting Lilo in the car. Lilo ducks out and runs into Stitch. He gives her the half-burned family picture, and she, in her anger, says, "You ruined everything." Stitch then reveals himself as an alien, and she tells him to get out of there. Just as Gantu captures them and puts them on a ship, Nani witnessing the whole thing. Stitch escapes, but the ship blasts off before he can help Lilo. Nani interrogates Stitch, only for Jumba and Pleakley to capture him. Nani demands that they bring Lilo back, but they're just there for Stitch. Stitch then says, "Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten," and convinces Jumba and Pleakley to help rescue Lilo. So, they take Jumba and Pleakley's spaceship, rescue Lilo, and crash both ships into the ocean. David happens to be surfing by and gets them back to shore, somehow, where the Galactic Police are waiting, along with Cobra Bubbles. The councilwoman retires Gantu, and Stitch asks that if he can say goodbye to his family before going on the ship. "This is my family," he says. "I found it, all on my own. It's little and broken, but still good." I swear I can quote this whole movie. The Grand Councilwoman sees how much Stitch has changed, but she can't go against the decision of the council. Then Cobra Bubbles asks Lilo, "Didn't you buy that thing at the shelter?" So Lilo shows Stitch's license, proving that she owns him. "If you take him, you're stealing." Seriously, the dialogue in this movie is just so iconic. The Grand Councilwoman talks with Cobra Bubbles, who turns out to be a former CIA agent who was at Roswell, who convinced aliens that mosquitoes were an endangered species. Well, that explains a lot. So Stitch is sentenced to exile on Earth, and the family is placed under the protection of the United Galactic Federation, which means that Nani can keep Lilo, which won't be easy to explain to social services. And also leaves Jumba and Pleakley behind because she thinks they're idiots. I mean, sure, but they're lovable idiots. So, Lilo now has an unconventional alien family that's much bigger. Nani has 2 aliens to watch Lilo when she is at work, so no more in trouble with social services. Jumba and Pleakley become a surrogate uncle and aunt. Yeah, you heard me right, you cross-dressing beauty, Pleakley. And Stitch has found a place where he belongs. God, I love this movie. So, like I said, this movie spawned 3 sequels and 3 spin-off TV series. 2 of the sequels have to do with Lilo and Stitch the series, in which they locate Jumba's other 625 experiments and find places where they belong. One of my favorite Disney Channel cartoons as a kid. Then there's Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, which is kind of separate from the series. It incorporates the Hawaiian myth of the goddess Hi'iaka and her mortal lover Lohiau, in comparison to Lilo and Stitch's friendship. In short, the volcano goddess Pele killed Lohiau out of jealousy because she had a crush on him too, and Hi'iaka begged with the other gods to bring him back to life, showing that love is more powerful than death. Okay, so the actual myth is a lot more complicated than that Hi'iaka had actually gotten permission from Pele to get with Lohiau, but only after Pele got with him. Yeah, it's very weird and convoluted, but yeah, that's the shortened version explained in the Disney movie. That you should stick with your loved one, not just in the good times, but in the very difficult times. Coincidentally, Lilo and Stitch ties in with the Asian part of this month, too. Because Stitch is very popular in Japan, with the Japanese spin-off Stitch, in which Stitch befriends a Japanese island girl named Yuna. And then in 2017, Disney Channel Asia released a Chinese spin-off called Stitch and I. Not I like the pronoun, but I being the name of the new Chinese gal pal. From what I've seen, they're somewhat separate from the Lilo and Stitch canon, though the English version of the Japanese series ties them together. Apparently, Lilo and Stitch got separated when Lilo left for college, and that when she promised to come back, she didn't show up, and then Stitch went on a joyride and ended up in Japan, and then I'm like, what? I mean, how can you separate Lilo and Stitch? Just why? Oh, and Lilo apparently has a daughter named Ani who looks just like her. I mean, I get it. I'm all for representation, and when movies and TV get adapted into another country, the characters are changed to fit the audience. It happened with The Ring, in which, fun fact, the actress for Lilo plays the ghost girl Samara in the American version. But still, nothing beats the original duo of Lilo and Stitch. Although I think it is kind of cool how they incorporate Japanese and Chinese folklore into the respective spin-off series. But Lilo and Stitch, I think, are the best duo. Because from the start, though Stitch was an alien and Lilo was a human, they were very much alike. They were both outcasts due to anger issues and their quirks. Lilo liking weird things like vampires and being so creative and making her own creepy dolls, and being into voodoo, apparently. And while Stitch is built to be destructive and angry all the time, and Lilo, in contrast, probably not built that way, but it was likely due to the trauma of losing her parents. But either way, they didn't belong anywhere. Lilo at least had her sister, who is also flawed, but understands where her little sister is coming from, as they both suffered loss, and people also think that Nani is not capable of doing much like Lilo. But Stitch finds himself charmed by the family dynamic, and wishes that he can be a part of it. Like Lilo, he even tries to fit in at some point, and he fails because of his genetic code and his anger issues. And I can think of a lot of kids with behavioral problems who can relate to this. Wanting to be considered good by others, but emotions get the best of them, and as a result, they get, pardon the term, alienated from everyone else. And kids like that, they need support from their family and friends who will have the patience to get them through all that, no matter how hard it is. And that's why Lilo doesn't give up on Stitch, because she gets where he's coming from. To an extent. She doesn't get that he's an alien at first. And in the end, they form an unconventional but loving family, which we need more of in the media. We got a single female guardian, a sister rather than a mom, and queer platonic uncles. Seriously, anyone else low-key shipping Jumba and Pleakley? They already play the role of aunt and uncle and fight like an old married couple. Not every crossdresser is necessarily trans or gay, but there was an episode of Pleakley's mother trying to set him up with a girl, and he insisted he didn't want to get married, period, and was happy with the life he had. Oh my god, what if Pleakley's ace? Alright, I don't care how you look at it. Pleakley's a non-gender conforming icon. And the female characters in this movie are realistic, physically and personality-wise. And it's nice to see a variety of non-white characters who don't adhere to stereotypes. Not to mention, the concept of the film is so unique and it shows the true meaning of family. Like they say, Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. And family is not necessarily nuclear, parents and a kid, or determined by God, or determined by blood. If you have Disney Plus, I do recommend watching the original spin-off series for more alien Ohana shenanigans, plus all the cool crossover episodes with other Disney cartoons of the time, from Kim Possible to Recess to The Proud Family to American Dragon Jake Long. Hey, speaking of Asian American. Oh gosh, I really miss the early 2000s. Alright, well that is all I have on my notes, so let's see if anyone has anything to say in the chat. Oh, Bella PinkSavage, definitely one of my favorite Disney friendships. Oh yeah. And Cosmic Trail says, remember when Stitch went to other Disney movies and one of the characters would always say, get your own movie? Oh yeah, all the Disney trailers. I think it was Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and The Lion King, where Stitch just snuck his way in there. And it's just a running joke that Stitch has always been in the Disney movies, just sneaking in. I guess it was to show that Stitch was a totally new concept from the traditional Disney. From the Renaissance, we had all those fairy tale films and movies like The Lion King that were just so dramatic. But this was a movie that was both fun and realistic and actually depressing in some places, which I think is why the movie is so popular commercially anyway. I mean, if you go to Disneyland, Stitch is one of the most prominent characters on all the memorabilia, alongside Mickey Mouse and Goofy and all that. Yep, I agree, Bella PinkSavage. Those were the days, the early 2000s, where we had all those Disney TV spin-off series, and then stuff like Kim Possible, and American Dragon, Jake Long. I love those shows. I mean, I love some of the shows that Disney has right now. Amphibia, speaking of which, if you saw the recent season 2 finale of Amphibia, my heart goes out to you. Gosh. And the Owl House, yeah. I miss some of the old Disney, but I do love some of the new shows they have now. Yeah, and people in the chat missing the early 2000s as well. Yeah, all us millennials who grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, we remember the days, don't we? All right. So, anyone else want to add to the chat before I announce the topic for our next episode? Okay, so nothing for now. So, Father's Day is coming up, and for the next episode, we had a patron poll on which topic to cover, featuring a fatherly type Beauty and the Beast relationship to change things up a bit. And the winning vote was another Disney film with Pixar, Monsters, Inc. All right, and for those of you who have dads or fatherly figures out there, it's not too late to shop for Father's Day gifts. I have products on my Redbubble page with the slogan, "I'm a dad, it's my job to be silly," available for sale on over 60 different products, as well as Stop Asian Hate and LGBTQ Pride merch, because June is Pride Month, and we got to celebrate our pride. All right, until next time, remember, Ohana means family. And don't judge people for being different, not just physically, but personality-wise. Even those that seem like they may be extra aggressive may be dealing with some of their own issues. You know, unless they're really awful, or killers, or totally prejudiced or something. Then they're probably not worth your time. Aloha! Until we meet again.